Yo, it's me, it's SGOTT, baby, and I'm back with my review for Scream Resurrection, which is the name of the third season of the show. As mentioned, they decided to reboot the show with an entirely new premise, entirely new cast, entirely new location. Entirely new location. So they did, and it took 2 freaking years, no, 3, because 2016 is when the Halloween episode premiered, and it took 3 years for it to be aired. Now, if you don't know, the original 2 seasons and the Halloween special aired on MTV, and for the longest time, I waited for it to come on, just because I wanted to see what it was going to be like. And eventually, it aired on VH1, but there was promotion for it was so minimal, I didn't even know what was happening until it was too late. I happened to be kind of searching through the channels and noticed it says Scream Resurrection, Scream TV series or whatever on there. I'm like, what? And it was season 3, and it was already like they were airing. Well, what they did is it was 6 episodes, so they decided they were going to just do 3 nights in a row, 2 episodes on each night, and that's how they were going to air them. To me, it seemed like, oh, you're going to hear someone's mowing the lawn outside, so you're going to hear that, sorry. To me, it just seemed like, oh, we just want to air this and get it done. Probably won't be anymore, and the way this ended, it could go either way, so. The story here is that, okay, so we have another cold open with another, you know how I mentioned, like, it's like Drew Barrymore, and then in the first season of the show was, what's her name? Forgot her name. Bella Thorne. Here we have Paris Jackson, Michael Jackson's daughter. She doesn't get killed. She doesn't get stabbed. Like, it's just it's really stupid. Because, like, it starts like it's going to be one of those regular things where she's chopping up food. She cuts her finger. She gets a phone call. What's your favorite scary movie? And then there's a ding-dong at the door. And it's someone wearing a ghost face mask, which is the original mask this time. And it's a little kid. And the little kid stabs her, but it's a fake knife, and it forces one of the buttons on her shirt to pop up, and she says, "Careful, kid, I paid a lot of money for these things." One, I'm sorry, her boobs don't look fake. They are fine, but they don't look, no. I'm sorry. You could have got someone with bigger boobs, and it would be more believable that they were fake, but I'm sorry. She doesn't die. That was it. Then we go into the main story, which 2 brothers, Dion and Marcus, and they have an encounter with the Hookman, played by Tony Todd. He's essentially Candyman without the mysterious, supernatural powers and stuff. No bees. He's Tony Todd with a hook hand. That's about it. And what we're shown is that he kills Marcus. And then we flash forward, and it's 8 years later. So I have a problem with this, which means the first part of this we saw took place in 2010. She has a smartphone. Paris Jackson does. A smartphone that looks like it came from 2018. I understand there were some smartphones in 2010. Believe me, I know. But it looked very, I don't know. To me, it should have been a different phone. Like, if you want to make it look like it's in the past, it shouldn't have been a smartphone. It would have been more believable that way, I guess. I don't know. It could be very believable there's a smartphone. It's just, to me, it just bugs me for some reason. I don't know. Right now, the Dion is now playing football for high school, and he gets attention. And this is where we meet our central cast. We got Dion, who's the main character. There's Liv, who's a cheerleader. There's Beth, she's the goth girl. There's Kim, she's the outspoken, big mouth African American woman, played by Keke Palmer. we'll talk about her. There's Amir. There's Kim's gay friend Manny, who I only mention is gay because he is. I'm not going to keep referring to that, but and there is, and that's it. We also introduced to Shane, who is a drug dealer and party goer, and he just pops up. You know, he's got a little something going on the side with Beth. Yeah, that's essentially it. And they call themselves the Dead Fist Club because it's a horror movie, I guess. And you have Beth, who is the Randy Meeks of the story, although sort of. She's the one that's going around, and she's the one that calls out the horror tropes. Unlike the first two seasons, there is no templates for all the characters. See, what they wanted to do, they got different producers in this one. Although they still credit Wes Craven as the executive producer, even though he passed away at the end of the just before the first season ended. And they're still crediting him as an executive producer. That's pretty cool. But so when they went to hire this new cast, it said it was going to be more diverse. So in other words, mostly black people, which I don't have a problem with, but they hired Queen Latifah to be a producer, and it's like, okay, they're going a different direction with this. The original series, there wasn't really many. There was one black girl, and she died in season 2. That's about it. Here we have, I really don't know how to classify some of these, but Keke Palmer and R.C. Kyler, who are Dion and Kim with a Y. Kim with a Y. Is that a thing? Kim with a Y? I don't know. But they're fully African American. You have Liv, who I believe is mixed race, because her dad is Caucasian. You have Amir, who I'm assuming is supposed to be Arabian of some sort. And you have Jamal, that's Dion's older half-brother. He is fully African-American. He's played by Tyga. And all the reviews I've seen of this, they're down on his acting. I think he's alright. He's supposed to be this gangster from the hood, and I think Tyga plays the role pretty well. I do have a complaint, though, once we get to certain other things. Manny, I believe, is Hispanic. I believe. Although he does dress up as Prince for Halloween. Although I thought he was George Michael at first, but he's supposed to be Prince. I think he's Hispanic. I'm not 100% sure. But and then we get Shane, who's played by Tyler Posey. Of course, he's Caucasian. And yeah, Dion has a friend at the beginning of this. He's killed pretty quick. There are two characters that are killed almost right away. There's Tommy, who's the kid who was picking on Marcus back on Halloween, and he's the first one to be killed. And then at the party that they're at later, this other guy, Dion's friend, is pushed onto the spike thing and killed. Those are the first two kills. I do appreciate that the kills in this one are a little more visceral. There's a dream sequence where Dion has his chest cut open and just ripped open. It's gory. And Amir's death, he's in an elevator and a bone saw comes busting through and the elevator starts to move and it just rips him right through. This was on TV, VH1. I was amazed at the level of gore they had for TV. Sure, the first two seasons had some gore, but not like this. This was like, wow, when I first saw it, I was like, shit, this was on VH1? VH1! So I just spoiled Amir's death. But we get, you know what I mean? So the suspect list, from the beginning, the killer, Ghostface, and yes, they do call him Ghostface. I remember when I was watching this and they started calling him Ghostface, I'm like, No, 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 no. You do not call him Ghostface. It's like there's one film where they call Pinhead Pinhead, and that's more of an come on Pinhead. It's more of a a diss or whatever you call it. I can't think of the word. I'm not good at words, but it's more of making fun of someone than just calling him Pinhead. He's got pins coming out of his head, so they call him Pinhead. That's more of an exaggeration than actually calling him. Here, he is literally called Ghostface. And every time I hear them say Ghostface, I cringe a little bit. I'm like, oh, you don't need to keep calling him that. Let's talk about the character of Kim with a Y. She got a little more tolerable as the season went on. It's only 6 episodes, by the way. But when she started, she was one of those. I've never been a big fan of Keke Palmer. I used to watch True Jackson VP. Sometimes I still do. They have the Nickelodeon channel on Pluto TV. But from the start, she's like one of those outgoing. She's out there. President Trump wants to keep us down. It's like this how she's talking, and I'm just like. Threw me off. And then we have sorry. And then we have her as the show goes on, she gets a little more tolerable. I think maybe they told her to tone it down a little bit as the season went on, but she gets better. I think it's around the time Manny gets killed. And his death is it's not as visceral as Amir's, but so, let me try to think. I'm trying to go in order here. Shane's the next one after those two. They think that this Dr. Fade or Mr. Fade, whatever it is, that is running these parties is behind the killings because of the ghost mask, the ghost face mask that they're having at the parties. It's linked to Marcus because that was Marcus's costume. So. They confront Shane. They knock him out using a fog machine and some kind of concoction to knock him out. But here's my problem with that. They use this fog machine to knock him out, and after he's knocked out, they just walk in the room. The fog machine's still going, by the way. They're not affected by it, but apparently he is. What? I laughed. I'm like, you're not even gonna pretend you're not cop. You know. They play on Manny's asthma a lot too, right? Is it Manny or is it Amir that has the asthma? I think it's Manny. Manny has the asthma, and that plays into his death too. Is that so I'm trying to think. So they're Dion is told to go to where it all started, which is the junkyard that the Hookman. Luther is his real name, was that. So they go to confront, and Liv slashes Kim's tire so they can't follow. But Amir is with them, and they still take off in Kim's car for some reason. Or Kim takes off in her car, so I don't know what car they're in. It's Kim's car. Kim's car crashes into the cornfield, and because she's being chased by these redneck racists, which I don't see why they even added in there, just further, padding, I guess, for the episode. They're never really seen again after this. And then Kim's not in the car. And there's several times that they try to point you towards a character being a killer. And this is one of the times where they're pointing towards Kim. Like, well, Kim's not in her car. Manny gets there, and then the ghost face shows up, and because there's fuel or gas leaking from the car, they take a lit rag, throw it down, then gets, fire and stuff. Here's the thing though, with Manny, because he has asthma, they don't necessarily show how he dies, but the smoke is gonna get to his lungs before the fire can even burn him. He's gonna suffocate and stop breathing before he even burns because of his asthma. That's gonna take him out first. That's how he dies. Then I think next is Amir. And like I already told you about Amir. Oof. So, the reveal of the killer here. And it's kind of like how I explained in the Halloween episode where they just revealed that Alex was the killer, just like shown like that, is that they basically hint to us that Jamal, Dion's brother, is the killer. Because once again, Dr. Fade or Mr. Fade, whatever, comes back into the situation. And Dion confronts Jamal because he's got the fires. And Jay's like, I'm Mr. Fade. And he goes, because he thinks Mr. Fade's the killer. You know, if I was the killer, I'd be going after your friends. And he drives off. And they automatically say, oh, Jay is the killer. It's like, he just said if he was the killer. But we'll get to that. So there is they heavily point towards Liv being a killer or one of the killers because of her erratic behavior that she has. Like, there's a thing where she calls Dion, she says, the killer's one of us, and then they show her burning her arm with a lighter. This is after Manny had been set on fire, by the way. And then she catches Dion with a gun and calls her father in, and then her father takes him for a ride and starts warning him about her, and he's attacked. And then, because he radios the cops from the thing, he's automatically a suspect. Like, after the situation where Amir is murdered, Liv goes and tells the cops that Dion was the one with her father when it happened. And because he's got blood on his shirt, and no one else knew the information, how it happened, and what happened with Liv's dad, automatically he's a suspect. And he's a football player, and because he was arrested, but not booked, he was not behind a cell, he was just taken into the thing, he wasn't convicted, the college, what you call recruiter, doesn't want to see him anymore. I'm like, really? They're like, oh, we can't support a convict. He wasn't convicted. He just went to the police station for a night. For something he didn't do, by the way. And like, okay, so he's the one who took the radio and said that there's an officer down. And they ask, who is this? And he runs off. He's scared, sure. But then, here's the thing though. The gun that he had ended up having no bullets in it. So why didn't her dad look at it and go, there's no bullets in here? You know? But it ends up being no bullets in there. The gun goes missing, ends up in the hands of the killer later, but it's just like, they heavily point you towards it being Liv to the point where you're saying it has to be a red herring. It has to be. There's no way. And then, so like I said, the episode where they basically say Jay's the killer, they show Jay cleaning up a party, and he gets attacked. And stabbed, skewered by someone in a ghost mask. Now, this can throw you off because the words he says, what are you doing here? Why are you playing? And then he gets stabbed. So, I'm going to tell you right now, Jamal is one of the killers. And I have a problem with that at one point once I reveal who the other killer is. So, Dion, this whole thing is about Dion telling the truth. So he comes clean to Liv in the final episode. He's Marcus, not Dion. There's this whole thing where they said Marcus was still alive, but then they found the dead body because he after he got slashed, he was still alive. He hid in a car trunk and didn't make it. And then Luther didn't find him until 3 months later. So, you know, I guess the cops weren't, and he says it himself, the cops weren't going to look too hard for a little lost black boy. You know what I mean? That's what he says. And Dion admits he's Marcus. Supposedly, and I guess this wasn't, watching this over again, this wasn't a work from the beginning. So when I first watched this, I was like, they needed a twist for the end. That's all it was. But this wasn't the works from the beginning. Is from when I'm watching it, beginning to end, one day, yeah, it's So what happened was when they got there, they switched costumes. Marcus was the football player, Dion was the ghost face, and they switched costumes. Or no, Dion was the football player, Marcus was the ghost face, and they switched costumes. And after this happened, Marcus ran home because he was wearing Dion's costume. They thought he was Dion, and he never corrected them. And they thought they would figure it out, but he didn't. He just kept living Dion's life. I thought this was like something they just rolled in at the last minute, but like I said, watching all 6 episodes in a row, they were playing on this from the beginning. They were planning on it from the beginning. It was supposed to happen like this, but it's just really weird watching through it's really weird. Yeah, and he still doesn't tell anyone else but Liv. And so then they show him a video that Jay is bleeding, so they think he's not the killer. They go after him, and he's trying to leave. Jay's like, I gotta tell you something before I go. And he basically says, he killed Tommy, his friend, the one that got spiked, Shane. Right? No, not Shane. And, was it Shane? I think it was Shane. Because the other ones were, and Luther. Those 4. And he's like, well, what about Manny, Amir, and maybe Shane? He said, I didn't kill them. My partner did. She's gonna get you. Something like that. It's like she, and then we see Liv, that they're talking about the deaths or whatever, and when at this point Kim has there was a thing where Kim had to distract someone, and so she took Beth's car keys and caused a distraction so Beth could get in to show the phone to Dion, and so she was at Kim's car, and apparently she got a text from the killer telling her giving her an option to take off. So that's why I haven't seen her since then. And Beth kept saying she's not final girl material and stuff, and they're all gonna die. That Liv was the final girl because she's the one who points out the archetypes of the horror. She's a horror fan. There's even a scene where they're watching Rob Zombie's Halloween, that piece of shit movie. And I'm just like, oh, really? Can't watch the original. It's a remake because this is supposed to be a reboot. Give me a freaking break. Really? You can't watch the original because it's a reboot. Even though there is a part where Amir is put together music with horror movie sounds, and there is a part from the original Halloween where Laurie says, it was the boogeyman. As a matter of fact, it was. I was in there, so yeah. So we get to the final thing here. Dion has made it back to the school, and he sees that Liv knocked Beth unconscious and locked her behind another door. And he's suspicious. He doesn't know what's going on. Liv has been pointed out as a suspect since the very beginning, so much that she has to be a red herring. In my mind, I'm like, she can't be the killer. There's no way. And sure enough, as he tries to call the cops, a gunshot rings out, shoots him here, breaks through his through his phone, and it shoots him here. And it's Beth. She was the accomplice. Apparently, she was a sociopath the entire time, and she used Jay to push forward her means. Jay came in, they were drinking. He was telling her all about how Dion lied and how it was Marcus. They never actually told us how he figured out that it was Marcus and not Dion. I mean, they pointed to the fact that Marcus used to spend time, or Dion used to spend time with him when they were younger. But this whole thing for him was the fact that after what happened, their father chose Dion's family over his. But he never specifically said how he figured it out. Are we supposed to believe that he was that close to Dion that he could figure out it wasn't him? Because his immediate family couldn't figure it out. So there's no way that some guy that only knew him on the side for a few months could figure it out. They never specifically tell us how he figured it out. And this brings me to my problem. Beth and Jamal were the killers. Now, in my opinion, I'm going into this remembering who the killers are. I said, so Beth was the only one making the phone calls when it happened. Because the voice changing thing. By the way, Roger L. Jackson was back as the voice of Ghostface, by the way. I said Beth had to be the only one making the phone calls then. But there are times where she's standing there and the phone calls are made. And I said, that doesn't make any sense. Because even with a voice changer, Jamal's voice is so distinct that it would sound like this. Like a gangster, even with a voice changer. He's got that twang in his voice, that gangster voice. Even with a voice changer, that gangster twang would not be out of it. So the fact that he was making phone calls and his voice sounded so freaking different makes no sense. Like, in the original Scream, you could have, you could say that Billy Loomis could do a ghost-faced typed, I'm gonna gut you like a fucking pig, and I'm gonna gut you like a fucking pig. You could say that he could do that voice and that kind of demeanor. Even Mickey and Mrs. Loomis from the second film, and even Roman. And you can even have Rory Culkin and Emma Roberts do those voices. And the people from the first one, from the first 2 seasons, could have that. But Tyga has that kind of twang in his voice. Even with a voice changer, you'd be able to tell it was him. Just because of the way he has that swag in his voice. Talk like this. He was my brother. You killed him. That kind of twang in his voice. I can't do it like he does, but it makes no sense that when he has the voice changer, the twang is gone. I understand it's someone else's voice entirely, in all logic. And I understand but it's supposed to be a voice changer. Not someone else's voice completely. It's supposed to be a voice changer. And I can see for Beth, it could sound... I've been confused as to why. Because like when Sydney does it in the first film, it's a female-like voice. Over the phone. And so I'm confused as to why in other films the female's voice isn't a little bit different distinctively. And it's confused here as well. I understand you get Roger L. Jackson. But I don't know. And I guess it is Roger L. Jackson in the original film, but her voice is like mixed in with it, I guess. I don't know. But it just... I don't believe that Tyga was using the voice changer. It just doesn't make... Or Jamal, I should say, Jay. It just doesn't make any sense. Like I said, when I went into this, I'm like, okay, so it has to be Beth's only one using the voice changer. But then when they're getting phone calls when Beth is around them, it doesn't make any sense for Tyga to use... You know what I mean? Jamal to use that. And his twang not be in the voice. It just doesn't make any sense. That's one thing that throws me off, is that I can't believe that Jamal's behind the voice changer when there's no twang. You get what I'm saying here? I hate to repeat myself all the time, but I'm just saying. So it ends with Kim coming to save the day, really, because there's a fight on the roof. She gets thrown through the skylight, and then Kim comes running in, and they're like, well, it's all over now. And she's like, no. Like, she's suddenly an expert with horror movies. She says, they always come back for one last scare, and Beth pops up, shoots her like 3 or 4 times, and she's like, I was wrong. You were the final girl after all. We are partners. And she falls down, and it was fine. And then Kim goes, bam, final girl. I'm like, oh, you were fine. You were fine, and you ruined it. You ruined it with that extra bam, final girl. I'm just like, I was tolerating you, Kim, and you just ruined it. I don't like your character anymore. And it ends with going to college and everything. And like I said, they can end it here. There's a little like hook at the end where they get a phone call from an unknown caller. They don't answer it, and it just ends. If they don't make any more, which I don't think they are, that could be a good ending. Also, if they do make more, my thought is keep this 6-episode format, and each season can be like an anthology. Different stories, different towns, different places in America, different killers, you know. Each could be influenced by another. You could say that the Ghostface killings here Ghostface killings here influenced another set of Ghostface killings in New York. You know what I mean? You could do that. But yeah, this is decent. Watching the whole series back to back over the last couple of days, this was not as good as the first 2 seasons. I didn't like the characters as much as I did the other ones, and I wish they would have continued with that before just rebooting it. But this was decent. Like I said, if I had to rate these seasons, I guess it would be 3, and 2 and 1 could be interchanged depending on how I feel by each day. I like the killer reveal. Oh, the killer reveal, by the way, they did it again. The killer is revealed not by taking off a mask, because both Jay and Beth aren't wearing masks when they reveal they're the killers. Although Beth then puts on the mask and she makes the joke like, oh, I can barely see in this thing. I'm just like, why'd you put it on then? I don't know. But yeah, it's decent. So what are your thoughts on Scream Resurrection? Season 3, whatever. Let me know in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.